Hello, I'm David Stevens, and I want to thank you for watching. In this video, I plan to explain what opens and closes the abiding door, how abiding in Jesus moment by moment will change your Christian experience, and how walking out of the hospital in August of 1997 led me to share the abiding message with you. But first, let's back up and review. I imagine you invited Christ to come into your life because at some point you recognized your need for Him. You and I are alike in that we both want Christianity to mean more than just getting a one-way ticket out of hell and into heaven. It means more to us than simply living a good life and being upstanding citizens. It means far more to us than attending a church service once a week. For you and me, we indeed want Christ to be our very lives. Deep down, we refuse to look at our faith as a mere convenience. Deep down, we want to do God's will, and deep down, we want to walk by faith. Yet even though we really desire to connect with God, to follow Him and do what He wants, we sometimes find ourselves stuck, unable to move forward. For example, we acknowledge that being anxious about our lives leads to no good. So what do? We memorize the verse that tells us to be anxious for nothing, to pray for everything, and then to expect the peace of God to rule our lives. And then when a concerning situation or circumstance hits us head on, what is the impact of the collision leak? But all kinds of fear, doubt, worry, and anxiety from our lives. So we follow the steps. We tell ourselves not to be anxious, to pray about the situation, and then cross our fingers and hope that the peace will come. And when it doesn't, we just try harder and pray more intensely, but still no peace. We talk to others about how the anxiety and worry in our lives won't leave us alone, and then with well-meaning intentions, these other people do what? They suggest that perhaps our lack of success comes from our failures in other areas of our lives. Maybe we haven't read our Bible enough or conquered a particular sin. Maybe our marriages aren't exactly perfect or we have strife in other relationships. No matter what, we get the message loud and clear that the cause of our problem lies with us, either in our failure to do something or give something up. But this only compounds the problem because the so-called solution demands that we fix ourselves. But if we could fix ourselves with our own self-effort by doing something to change our behavior, wouldn't we have already done it by now? Do you know how many millions of Christians share this same experience that you and I do? And I only used one example about fear and anxiety. What about all the other failures that submerge themselves just below the spiritual surface? I've read all the comments from many different people that have gone through the abiding life, and most of them describe a Christian experience that struggles to climb up the spiritual mountain. Stories about challenges in the marriage relationships or with depression or the attempts at keeping up a spiritual facade. Declarations from many people about how they've wanted to hear God speak to them, but for some reason or another, just haven't heard Him. Somewhere along the way, we picked up the false notion that somehow we failed in the Christian life if everything doesn't line up as it should. That struggle of any kind means we haven't worked hard enough or been committed enough in our faith. We conclude that the failure to connect with God lies with our inability to work and be good enough for Him. Yet the repeated failure that we beat ourselves up with really isn't failure because God uses it to fulfill His purpose. Now, all the adversity in our lives, brought on by others, as well as our own bad choices, God uses as His tool to bring us into a deep, abiding awareness of Himself.